I waited all week long for my congressman to get home from Washington. When he got here, he said, I've got a little something for you if you'll meet me at my tailgate on the parking lot. I did, but all he had to offer was light beer. Have you ever tasted light beer? I say, Jack, now that you're a successful congressman and politician, what do I call you? Mr. Jack, or Mr. Fields, or Your Honor, your congressmanship, or do I call you what your other constituents call you? And he said, oh no, don't do that. You couldn't use those names in mixed company. Welcome home, Jack. Tonight I have been commissioned to talk to you about 50 years of alumni. Now, a committee was set up and came and asked me to share this great honor, and I said no. No, I've had this honor before. Meaning I've gone through this whole rigmarole and done all this work and so on and so on. Get somebody else. They come back. They say at the next meeting, they say, no, we want you. And they were insistent, and I was available. So I accepted. And you'd be surprised. The word went out. Sweet old Bevil's going to do it. Sweet old Bevil's going to do it. Sweet old Bevel this. Sweet old Bevel that. I even got a few smooches and hugs from the pretties. At the last meeting, the committee said, Coach, how long's this speech going to last? And when I told them, they don't say sweet old Bevel no more. Sweet old Bevel this. Sweet old Bevel that. They just use the initials. They said that SOB. Now, if I'm going to put this 50 years of alumni in perspective, I got to go back a little while, about 153 years. The year was 1828. The 6th president, John Adams, had just been elected. The 24th state had just come into the Union. And a man came into this area to blaze a trail. His name was Dunman. And he settled out on the old Tuscasita Trail. He brought his wife and one child. He was later to father 6 children, but none of them ever saw the inside of a schoolhouse. We was going to have to wait 16 presidents later, Grover Cleveland. We was going to have to wait 14 states later, Missouri. We was going to have to wait 60 years later, till 1887 for the first school to be built. This school was built approximately on the location of Old Humble Cemetery. Its tenure, 3 months. To the 3rd grade, a committee was formed. The people in the community at that time who were very positive was Dunman and Isaac and Humble, Durden, Lee, Cohen, Farrell, Fulgham, Lambert, Slaughter. And a committee was formed and they elected one man, Elisha Madison Isaac. You knew him as Uncle Booge. To find a school marm to take over this school. He did. He went to Houston. He found a red-headed, freckle-faced school teacher named Miss Rose Hamlin. She came out and took over the school, 12 students. But we was going to wait 25 years for the first alumni to show up. In 25 years, the year being 1911, we had 2 graduates. The Inman twins that you knew as Mrs. Holloway and Mrs. Church. Now, a characteristic about this particular class that you might not know, but there was a 3rd member. This 3rd member went on to become Humble's most famous dropout. He did not finish school, a good reason. He had no family. He had no home. He slept out in the oil fields and the tool houses. He shared the roughnecks and the roustabouts and sack lunches. This man went on to become a multi-millionaire. He owned the old Colt 45s. He brought Major League Baseball to Houston, Texas. I'm talking about Mr. R.E. Bob Smith. He is the only person to ever receive an honorary diploma from Humboldt High School. Dr. Burton in 1948 presented R.E. Bob Smith with an honorary diploma. The ice had been broken. The 1911 class graduated, and in 1912 there were 3, and in 1913 there were no graduates. It was the only time a graduating class has ever, had no graduating class at the end of a school year. In 1914, 4 graduates. 1915, 4 graduates. 1916, 6 graduates. And in 1917, Humboldt High School was interrupted by World War I. But Humboldt High School persevered. 1917 freshman class had no boys, 15 girls. Our beloved Secretary-Treasurer was a member of that class. For those years, the nostalgic teenage years, there were 32 graduates. 32. Then came the roaring 20s. You bobbed your hair in the roaring 20s, and you danced to Charleston. Clara Bow and Rudolph Valentino were your favorites at the movies. Radio was born. Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs. In 1920, our graduating class had one of your all-time favorites, our Secretary-Treasurer. Warren G. Harding was president, and Calvin Coolidge to follow him. And you sang, "Oh, you kid," and "Over there," and "Get out and get under," and "Are you lonesome tonight?" And in 1921, you voted as the most beautiful girl in Humboldt, Texas, Harris County, and surrounding town sites, Miss Lillian Randolph. The most popular girl at that time was Gladys Biggs, and the most popular boy was Raymond Bodenhammer. You went to parties, and you played clap in and clap out. And you walked around the house with the girls. In 1924, you hired your first coach, Roy Needham. And I remember the great athletes of that time. The most beautiful girl at that time was Miss Elizabeth Blair, and the most popular was Red Lanier, and the most popular girl was Merle Connor, and the best athlete, the great incomparable Dan Marsalis. Incidentally, I'd like to tell you, class of 25, that Miss Esther Duran, because of an auto accident, has sent her regrets, and she is with you in spirit. The great Wildcat team used to follow a coach that came here as our first coach, Roy Needham. And I know that some of you remember the greats of that era: Jack Deefy, Rufus O'Neill, Red Lanier, Herbert Akert, Dean Dewitt, Tot Lowhorn, Chunky Martin, and the one and only Claude Bracey, who represented the United States Rice Institute in Humboldt High School in the 1928 Olympics. And on the social scene, we had Fast Freddie Williver, Slick and Ready, never let the girls go needy. The Roaring 20s, 225 grads. And then came those hard-time 30s. The hard-time 30s gave to us the Great Depression, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his New Deal, the PWA, the NRA, the CCC, Joe Louis and 3-2 beer. Beefsteak hit 10 cents a pound and gasoline 11 cents a gallon. In 1932, the humble alumni was born, and you elected Willie Reed as the first president, and Lloyd Long as the first Toastmaster, and Secretary Treasurer, Miss Mamie Glover Morris. You went to Tellier's and the In the Main, and you danced to Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys, and the number one on your hit parade was the Steel Guitar Rag. You remember those naughty Galena Park boys, knowing with their bell-bottom breeches they come over and they took our girls away from us. They knew how to dance and court the ladies. We waited until football season came and then beat the hell out of them. The alumni persevered. The great athletes of that time in the 30s, James Austin, the Sezzo boys, Lee and Gus, the Pinson boys, Jesse and Drew, Bruce Davis, George Pilgrim, Lloyd Long, Edie Tullis, Carter Lomax, and the great team of 33, Jake Preston, Delton Cole, Bull Heron, A.C. Sezzo, Emmett Moore, and who could forget the great year in 39? Ron Pinson, Peyton Williams, Dan O'Brien, Emmett Korf, Ray Jarrell, the great athletes of the day. The Hard Time 30s presented us 350 alumni. And then came those war-torn 40s. Hitler, the Nazis, the Blitzkrieg, the VE and the VJ Day, Okinawa and Saipan, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, United Nations, Joe DiMaggio and 20-cent gas. Possum Park and Black Cat Ridge was the two most favorite. Possum Park and Black Cat Ridge were the two most favorite spots in Harris County. 1942 produced some VIPs. As Jack has already told us, our superintendent of schools graduated in 42. The most likely to succeed in 1942, however, was Mr. Jack Field Sr. And the most popular girl was Pat Machan, and the most popular boy was Mr. Jack Field Sr. In 1945, during the Christmas holidays, there was a pretty little girl from Moonshine Hill had Marion on her mind. Now this lass had Marion on her mind, and she had found her a strapping, handsome Marine, and she was off to the races, and they needed somebody to take her classes. Old Yo showed. I was glad to get the job. I don't think things have been the same since, and as Calton Bourne would have said in those good old days, good news tonight. The war-torn 40s presented to us with 510 graduates. And then the turbulent 50s, segregation and integration in the Korean War, the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan, petticoats, bobby socks, rock and roll and Elvis. 1950, the most popular girl was Janine Branch, and the most popular boy was James Robert Fields. And in 53, your favorites were Shirley Pilgrim and Frank Campagna. And in 57, your favorites were Roberta Griffin and Sidney Gober. The turbulent 50s, 650 graduates. Now we come to those inflated 60s and 70s. The exuberant 60s. Beatlemania. Let me hold your hand. Two brand new states, Hawaii and Alaska. In 1961, John Kennedy replaced Eisenhower as president. And in junior high, you practiced your record pantomime, silver threads and golden needles. Rye whiskey, I walk the line. In 1968, Mr. and Mrs. Humble High was Debbie Cunningham and Alan Lever. And most likely to succeed, Kathy Tuttle and Ron Tippin. The best dancers, Pat Pruitt and Joel Scott. Mr. and Mrs. Humble Spirit, Diana Harriet and Jack Fields Jr. The exuberant 60s, 714 alumni. And now to those inflated 70s. Beefsteak hit $1 a pound. Gasoline went to 4 bits a gallon. Gas lines. Houston Oilers, Nerl Campbell. 1970 favorites, Pam Pinson and David Carpenter. The Wildcat fine basketball teams under Ed Denny. The old San Jacinto went on a tear, and it got the high since 1929. The inflated 70s gave us more alumni than all of the rest of the decades put together. 2,812. That brings us to the now 80s. Hostages, Olympic boycott, Hurricane Claudette and Shogun. Stars fell on Alabama and ashes fell on Washington. It was an election year. We elected a president and we had a brand new congressman elected from Humble, Texas. Welcome home, Jack. The now 80s produced 1,304, and that all added together of the nostalgic teens, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 2 years of the 80s has produced 6,599 alumni. At this time, I'd like to recognize some of our outstanding alumni. Some of our alumni who have never missed one banquet since the first beginning banquet in 1932. Will those of you who have never missed one in the 50 years, will you please stand and be recognized? To recognize the alumni of 2 generations. The alumni who have had presidents, 2 presidents in the same family. Will those of you who have had presidents in 2 generations of your family, will you please stand and be recognized? The Pierces and the Yanceys. Other schools into this organization, they come from all around to pattern after us. They come and they sit with us. They take notes and they go home. But the ship don't never get off the ground. Others have tried, but none have succeeded. We know of no other organization in the state of Texas, nor in the United States, that has what we have each year. You're to be complimented. It's only through doggedly hard work. We have had some great presidents, but we have never had one greater or more dedicated than the one we have this year, Ardell Jennings. I think he deserves a good one. We come a long way from Bender Sawmill, an all-boom town in syllable spelling. Now, you people over here don't know what syllable spelling is. If your teacher asked you to spell a word, your teacher would say, incidentally, Miss Tuttle taught me. Your teacher would say, spell Constantinople. You would stand up at your seat and you would say, C-O-N, con, that's a con. That's T-A-N, stand, that you can't stand. T-I, tie, that you tie, that you stand, tie, that you can't stand, tie. You know, that you know. That you tie, know, that you stand, tie, know, that you can't stand, tie, know. P-L-E, pull, that you pull, that you know, pull, that you tie, know, pull, that you stand, tie, know, pull, that you can't stand, tie, know, pull. The families that are tied for making the biggest contributions to our alumni are three. They have contributed 9 graduates each. They are the Carpenters, the Sherfields from Moonshine Heights, and the Weisenbakers. They deserve a hand. 9. As Chef Tell would say, I see you, but before I go, to all alumni present and those who couldn't get here, I have written a poem. Monkey sitting on the end of a rail, picking his teeth with the end of his tail. Mulberry leaves and calico sleeves, and all school teachers are hard to please.